The failure of the book industry is just like any other failed industries in a capitalist American market. Think about blockbuster videos, maybe even Circuit City, uh, useless corporations that get up in technology and then as the time goes by and as technology advances, puts to shame or puts obsolete to other products. And either they have to reform themselves or they're just dead from the market. Um, Books are kind of that similar way, quote unquote, books. Um, if you probably are in college or like reading, quote unquote, books, it obviously makes you to be this, hopefully not a pretentious liberal, quote unquote, intellect. It seems to me that the book industry is only out there to uphold liberalism or to uphold some class bourgeois value. The possession of a book is bourgeois is because you obtain certain information other classes do not have, and also obtains a physical object that can be bought with money. This seems to be a very Marxist criticism, but this is what the market of now what books are being sold as. Long ago, before there ever was an internet or some kind of TV or animated pictures, um, entertainment, uh, knowledge, and how we thought about the world were only obtained through books and through the printed physical medium of a book. However, itself that has drastically changed, and now we have to reconsider everything about our space and about how we look at medium, especially with the internet, when most half of the books of the world have been uploaded on the internet, and information can be easily obtained through the internet. I've heard boring arguments from stupid freshman students at school believing that books are some kind of superior to the internet, as if holding a physical copy and putting your hands on like paper and squinting your eyes and straining your eyes on text of different font is somehow superior to looking at a computer, that you can obtain information much faster, you can learn words much faster, and with typing you can learn write. It's almost an ultimate instrument, the computer and the internet. And as technology will fly by, it'll slowly make people learn more about the world. The digital age and information is certainly liberating everyone who is in that. And so this is going to be more about capitalism and about how people make their money and their niches. I have a problem with some of these. I think most idiot NPR liberals are full of normies with ideology. That's certainly true. They usually come from a very upper class family, probably some little off-skirt gated liberal community. Mommy and daddy pays the kids to go to a private male or women's school, and they go to these schools pretending nothing has happened. Probably the class size of the whole school is like 500 or 1,000, and that's where they're easily, with 101 on college professors who are con artists, basically scam these students into believing ideology, and they basically live their normative life and then they die. They do this to repent this. They say they have privileges or some abstract Derrida fourth wave intersectional theory of all this nonsense to make sense of their existence, when in reality they're part of the problem and they don't use any of their powers whatsoever to do anything. They just live off the money their parents have. And so really America is really a Hindu caste system. If you have the money, you have the money, and if you don't have the money. It's going to be really hard to get that money. Once again, this is a very Marxist criticism of the whole industry. Now, if you're in the upper class, it is much more easier to start a business of whatever desired products you have. This could be selling condoms and dildos from starting a condom kingdom store. You could sell neo-Nazi books, maybe like on Countercurrents or something like that. You could sell board games and go to some upper class part of town and sell only hip upcoming board games and make your money off that. However, there's a problem to this. These niche products are only for a niche audience, and that means they go against the normie value of the world. So if you sell weird products like liberal books, you're going to have to find an audience, or at least tell the normative person why they need your shitty product. It's like anybody who comes up to your door, knocking on your house and trying to sell you Windows, for Christ's sake. Windows, why do you even need that? It's like indirect selling. This is an anarchist theory, like in Crime Think, where the scheme of America and the evil, sinister part of why everyone's evil in America is everyone wants to sell you something. And that's true, because that obviously means you're a consenting consumer, being fooled by the merchant and putting all your rights while you get swindled of your money, not even knowing what is true and what is not real, and what is a friendship and what is a merchant to a consumer. And businesses do this to convolute our thoughts, and that's why people will get hooked on cigarettes and alcohol and buy stupid stuff like cuddle sessions for a cuddle partner. Now, because those businesses have niche audience, they barely make any income or money. If you were to have a niche board game store, chances are you're not going to make up to $60,000 a year. You're going to make so much lower than that. And with paying rent and electricity and all that, you itself become a subculture, so as long as you're able to pay for that. Which means if you come from a family of money, you can spend all the money you want. Hence why our economy is so broken. But if you go about this, you're not going to make $60,000 or more a year selling condoms and dildos, neo-Nazi books, and liberal NPR-approved books. It's not because nobody wants it. There's not a daily demand. People want McDonald's burgers every day, and that's why that's so lucrative. People want fast food. People want the most easiest stuff that's daily consumed. And to the market economy, it just shows you why Donald Trump is our president and what the business he knows. He can tell you what makes money and what not makes money. And certainly books don't even make money. And so if you were to tell someone who's in the book industry, they'll get certainly pissed off about this aspect, is simply because that's what they make money off, and you're telling that the profession is a sham. Yeah, it is a sham, but so most certainly a lot of professions are a sham. But calling them out on that assumes that they'll be righteous and defend how they sell books. They'll say to you, well, without books, we would all be in a fascist state and people would be dumb. And once again, their ideology comes out, which can be easily attacked. I remember reading a silly book. You might read this in your own school, Fahrenheit whatever by Ray Bradbury. This is certainly an old science fiction pulp where Bradbury argues that people are going to burn books in the future, and that without books, you're really burning Western civilization and our race, and, something really, he gave you all the reason, but in our liberal world, if you burn books, you burn information, and that's why the Nazis burned books. And you can already hear this convoluted message going about, as if we need ideology, as if the liberal need to have a thumb up our ass to tell us what to do. And so, books, to me, to the liberal world, is this sacrilegious, this holy object that seems to be so precious to them. When really, if you look in The Week or the New York Times, there's a whole book market telling liberals that are like font size 20, only like a few pages, made on the most expensive material. The books sell for like $24.99, and they're like stupid shit like oh, if I had a time machine, I'll go back and see my favorite concert. Oh, the life of this feminist singer. I don't need to explain these books. And then some people will call these books actually historical narratives of the world, or some kind of truth. Which, once again, if I was to read and show my liberal friends a book from Countercurrents, or any science fiction pulp I got for 25 cents at the thrift shop, there'll be some confusion in that, because I personally believe that most information is liberated and should be free. There is certainly aesthetic to books. I have a library of myself. I'm looking at my library. I have tons of Isaac Asimov science fiction pulps in the corner. I only got for like $5, and I have like 500 issues. I have, some books that I think I physically want, simply because if there was an apocalypse tomorrow, at least these books will survive. But I'm being facetious. That's not the reason why I have it. I just want the reason so I can obtain such knowledge and physically remember it. Certainly, if I was to write all the books down on a notepad text paper and say this is my wish, I wish I can go back to that information. Sometimes I'll put everything on PDF file on my thing, but mostly I want the physical book so I can cite it when I'm doing research or whatnot. And that's what I use it for, as that tool. And that also, I have books for art's sake, for the art's sake, where they're weird, bizarro fiction and whatnot. And some of them are just obscure reads I'll show to my friends. I have art books too because I'm more of an artist, and I have, you know, and supposedly that makes you an intellect if you have all these book collection. No, it's really just a materialistic thing. Um, and yes, you can know more, but with digital age, there's so much now we can know about the world than what we have in possession. And so the whole silly book market by these people, they want to stop that, and they want you to give them the money so they can live a perverted life on that industry. Um, it's weird because I think we have a lot of problems today. Is It's pretty simple to understand. Um, I think the most gullible people who fall for such uh, a trap about how um, these industries work is usually whites, and white people tend to get caught up in the ideal that if you're a consumer, therefore you must become the merchant of that product. Supposedly, let's tell a story. If I go to the board game store all the time and play board games and Magic the Gathering, then one day I should make money off of Magic the Gathering and selling board games. And I can make a whole lifestyle based on this while at the same time doing things like rich people do. Hence why there's all these lame protests about saying, um, I think uh, I think Gavin McInes said this before, that people will work at their indirect sales jobs and be like, I'm only making 30,000 a year, but I want 70,000 a year, simply because 70,000 is the income to do stuff white people like things, like go to the midnight movie theater, hang out at vegan restaurants, go to punk rock shows. These super sweple things that you can only do in major cities, which white people like to desire. That's why they always have this desire to move to New York City or Los Angeles, simply because they want to be around other white people of higher intellect or something. And they think their mundane, boring job of selling condoms and dildos is going to be the same like Donald Trump's life, which is utterly silly, super silly. It's a misunderstanding of economics. The person who falls prey to this are white women. The nature of white women is that their whole nature is they're dependent. Their sexuality is dependent on a man, and because they're told this in their inner nature, they think the whole economic and world viewpoint is being independent while being dependent on a source. Meaning that if a woman is in a book industry, and if she really believes this and she's some dumb feminist, then she's going to assume that, well, the book industry is making money, and make these convoluted ideological dependent structures about how she thinks the economy works, compared to when she doesn't work like that at all. Because mommy and daddy is paying for her existence, and she's just going to be a trophy wife when she gets back home, and mommy and daddy is going to pay for everything. Just like how all other wealthy businesses operate. And so, really, this is a classist argument. It's assumed that the book industry is only there is because wealthy people want the industry to be there. And wealthy people want to be in their own wealthy niches. Now, there's been some protest about having like crazy bookstores, that are so niche. That's cool and all, but once again, it comes from some pocket of money to do that. And once again, it's the consumer merchant. And people who are twisted by money become greedy, and they become selfish, and they don't actualize anything. They become rooted in this perverted ideal that they need money in order to do their perverted actions, making him nothing different than a hedonistic nihilist that's ruining our system. That's the bane of what liberalism is all about. It's the bane of what our problem is, and it kind of needs to be purged out of that. But, some people are just sick like that, and that's what the capitalist market has done, is made people really sick-minded, and thinks that we can only it's hard to distinguish between friend and merchant. And this is really an argument based on the fact that books is ironic because it seems to me that they're selling ideology. And I'm going to be crazy right now. I'm going to say we need book burnings. We need book burnings at all these major bookstores so we can destroy these businesses, kind of like how Blockbuster went out of business, and get these stupid liberal bookstores out, because once we burn this ideology, no more PC cultural Marxism around campus. No more silly. We have to destroy this NPR book culture. We have to destroy these stupid book clubs. And to win over this, we got to show them like books on countercurrents or like avant-garde books like Peter Sotos. We got to show them like stuff that currently contradicts, that's more about the artist and about being human. You know, punk scenes. We can't have these market where they're making money to the normies. We have to liberate this by showing that there's a different world. And, you know, some people will get that. And just like any other perverted business, we have to somehow culture jam people from not understanding that what I've just said before. And personally, I think the book industry is pathetic and exploitive, and it should not be trusted at all. There is no special quality of a book. A book is a book, and it's a capital made for wealthy people to get money on.